What is up guys, Crazy Crack Animal here with another video. Today I want to go over some tips and tricks with Fuse, how I play him, and explain some of the basics, how he's being played by the pros, and in which team composition I like to play him if you have a pre-made squad. Now, to go some over the basics, Fuse, or how I like to call him, the Grenadier Tornado. Now that isn't just a catchy voice line that you can use. He really is the Grenadier Tornado, and that's not an over-exaggeration. This legend is separating the boys from the men. Okay guys, enough with the puns. Now, Fuse is a grenade specialist, an explosive specialist slash enthusiast, which makes him one of my favorite legends in Apex Legends right now. Why? Well, who doesn't like explosions, let's be honest. On top of that, Fuse is the only legend that can launch grenades up to a max range of 130 up to 200 meters with his inbuilt grenade thrower on his right prosthetic arm, which makes him the ultimate explosive specialist, close to long range. First things first, I will go over his abilities and explain to you the different usages of them and how I personally think they should be used. And yeah, okay, so let's get started. Fuse has a passive called Grenadier, which makes you able to stock up to more than 2 grenades per slot, which gives you a major advantage in close quarter fights and in sticky situations, either keeping opponents at bay or making them shake in their boots by unloading a barrage of grenades depending on how many grenades you have stockpiled in your inventory. So, what do I do as a Fuse main with this passive in-game? What should I be focusing on as well? Well, backpacks. Guys, a backpack is so important for a Fuse player. A backpack can decide if you win a game or lose a game. Now, you just don't want to stock up on grenades only because, you know, you're gonna need heals and shields and ammo for your weapons to make this work. So here's my advice to you. Tip number 1. Check what items will be available on the ground and what you'll need to craft via replicator, which sometimes includes backpacks and important attachments like extended max, heals, and shields. So always be on the lookout for that, which you can usually look at the menu you see when you start a game. It sees what is, you know, the weekly thing you can craft. So once you land on the ground, always be on the lookout for a replicator and find one ASAP. Craft a backpack right away as soon as possible, and it just makes the looting way easier. Tip number 2. Once you land down, you want to focus on the weapons you want to run and the attachments you'll need. Tip 3. If you have the guns you wanted to run, or at least the ammo type you wanted to rock, make sure to immediately focus on your quest of finding a bigger backpack and stack up on grenades, which refers to tip 1 and 2. But I like to mention it again because a backpack, guys, is really important, trust me. Tip number 4. Now you must be asking yourself, what grenades should I stack? Simply put, every grenade type that there is. So stack up on each grenade at least once, and that is personal preference, for me at least. I like to stack up on different frag grenades and thermite grenades. Arc stars are also fine as well, but I personally like frag and thermite grenades more because to me, that's why I'm saying it, because to me, they're more versatile, which I will explain later in the video. So that pretty much sums up his passive ability. Now we go over to his second ability, which is called the Knuckle Cluster. The Knuckle Cluster is a grenade type that can be launched from far distances. Similar to regular grenades, you will launch your Knuckle Cluster via your prosthetic right arm. This ability is different from regular grenades and can be launched further while being able to stick enemies similar to an arc star, causing more of a distraction and a larger AoE effect. So let me get more into detail about the Knuckle Cluster itself. The Knuckle Cluster, once launched, causes the grenade to stick to the surface or an enemy, depending where you shoot it at, and splits up into multiple smaller explosions that cause AoE damage all around the target. Now, when you shoot at an enemy and you aim at the torso, it does actually more damage when you aim to the waist/torso area. Now if you aim towards the head it does more AoE damage, but does less damage to the target, simply because the clusters are splitting up to the left and to the right. If you aim at his head and it's stuck on his head, trust me, it does more AoE damage. So that's not really what you want to go for unless you want to damage multiple people in a building. But if it's a single target, aim at the torso. That's why this grenade, this knuckle cluster, is really good. So while it isn't a huge damage dealer, it is definitely a disruptor and can change the outcome of a fight. You force opponents inside a room to hold their distance, and it can force opponents off a rooftop should they panic. You're basically like a Mozart of the battlefield. You dictate how the enemies position themselves every 25 seconds, and if you have a golden helmet, well, it's every 20 seconds. Basically, you're a pressure made into a legend. Now we come to his ultimate ability. The thing you all have been waiting for. The Motherload. The Motherload is Fuse's ultimate ability. It shoots a bomb up into the sky and scatters around the target you aimed at, creating a large ring of fire. If you get your Johnny Cash game on and shoot the Motherload at your opponents, everyone attempting to pass through that ring of fire will be slowed and roasted like a steak, pretty much. Now, that is where it gets spicy. As an explosive specialist, you can combine the ring of fire with grenades and cause mayhem inside the octagon of fire. See what I did there? You know, throughout this video, you're gonna hear a lot of shitty puns, so get used to it. So back to my grenade preference. I previously mentioned that I like frag and thermite grenades the most due to their versatility. Simply put, you can create some really nasty combos that can cause your opponents to get pushed into the ring of fire and even separate opponents inside the ring, making it hard for them to regroup. You can use this ultimate ability in various different ways. You can force enemies to come closer to you or further away, more to the back left, more to the back right. However you may be, you dictate the position and the amount of free space left they're allowed to use while you're unloading a weather prediction on them. And it ain't water raining down on them, that's for sure. Fuse comes in even more handy at the final circle stages. He can consistently shoot knuckle clusters to make sure the enemy team bleeds out on shields and health to give them a hard time. He can also make sure that when his opponents hide behind a door to bust it down like Tatiana and give no free room to scheme behind closed doors. Okay, enough door jokes. The final ring of fire, depending where the final circle is moving towards, you can utilize that and cause absolute mayhem in the last few seconds. While the circle is collapsing and enemies are being forced to cuddle more, you should focus on your positioning more than anything else, because his ultimate ability could win you the game. Always try to maintain high ground Anakin, and you'll be fine. If you yourself find yourself in a situation where you cannot hold the high ground Anakin, you can die a hero's death and let hellfire rain from the skies one last time. But only if you have at least one teammate alive. Simply put, let's say you're in the last circle, right? You know you're effed. There's so many teams around you. The ring is closing. It's like still like 6 squads alive. And you know, you want to go out with a bang. No pun intended. You can run out, shoot your ring of fire, and make sure that most of the enemies who try to run towards, or you know, like scheme their way towards the final circle, or at least where the final circle ends, you can try to block them from it and give them a hard time. Because trust me, when they run through, they're gonna get roasted like a good old steak from Gordon Ramsay. But yeah, with that being said, if you have decided that you want to go out and die like a hero, you run out, you shoot your shot when the circle is getting to a point where everyone has to come out of the hidey hole, or they will die to the zone, or you stick with your teammates and try to win with sheer gun skill. Either way, Fuse is definitely a worthy pick in ranked as any other legend. That pretty much summons up Fuse as a legend. As a parting gift, I have some final tips / rules that I personally have when I'm playing Fuse. So yeah, I'm just gonna go over a couple things that I like to mention to other players. You know, like personally, what I like to mention is that if you're playing with a Fuse player and you want to win in ranked, you can play the compositions that I have lined up for you, which I will go over later a little bit. But one thing I want to mention is that please, if you find grenades on the floor, please ping them. a Fuse can make use of it. And like, if it's frag grenades, arc stars, it doesn't matter. A Fuse should always, if you play with a Fuse, make sure that you always ping grenades. That's really important. That's what team play is all about. And yeah, and I will go over my rules now. So, the rules that I have when I pick Fuse, or any other legend, to be honest, which is common sense, but I like to mention it over and over again for the players who don't know. Golden backpacks always goes to your lifeline, no matter what. There's no discussion, guys. Lifelines gets the golden backpack. It doesn't matter. Even if you have a lot of stuff, inventory space or whatever, stocked up on things that you need, drop that thing. Lifeline needs that if you're playing with a lifeline. Now, second, I would go with Gibraltar. If you have a Gibraltar, give him the golden backpack because he can bubble you and then he can res you. Which, you know, it's common sense, but I like to mention it. Now, the golden helmet always goes to your Gibraltar or your Wraith. Now, if multiple people in your squad already have a golden helmet, you can give it to yourself, especially Fuse, you know. Shooting that knuckle cluster here and there makes a difference. So, yeah, those are my couple of rules. Of course, that again depends on your team's composition that you're running. Now, my personal favorite compositions that I like to run is Fuse with Gibraltar and Caustic, or Fuse with Gibraltar and Lifeline / Wraith. Depending on what your playstyle is, if you like to be aggressive, if you like to be more defensive, it really depends. Let's say, to give you a couple examples, let's say it comes down to the final circle with your team composition, and it happens to be inside a building. Trust me, you want to have a Gibraltar and a Caustic on your side, or a Lifeline and a Wraith. While Gibraltar can cover the outside with his ultimate, Caustic can protect you from the enemies trying to breach inside the building. While with Fuse, you can juggle around shooting knuckle clusters through cracks and throw grenades all over the place. And when it comes down to the final circle, Fuse, Caustic, and Gibraltar are your friends. And I'm not just saying that like that, I mean it, guys. Trust me, you're gonna have a much easier time in ranked when it comes to the final circle and you're playing with that setup. Trust me. Mwah. Fucking chef kiss. Trust me. Or with Lifeline rezzing you with her golden backpack, getting you back into the fight faster, or Wraith being able to portal you out of a situation should you get pushed by multiple squads at once in the building. Which, you know, comes in handy as well. At last, something worth noting is that Fuse's ultimate ability, the Ring of Fire, is a double-edged sword inside a building. Why? You can cast it, but it will most likely hurt you since the bomb that is being shot up hits the roof and crashes down faster than you think. It can be pulled off, but it's really risky, so I wouldn't really do it. You can do it, you know, if you know how to do it, but if you're inexperienced with Fuse, I wouldn't risk it, because if you're in a team fight and you screw up, man, trust me, your shield's gonna go down, you have to heal up, you're gonna leave your teammates alone for that time being while you have to heal up. So again, double-edged sword. If you know how to do it, you can do it. If you don't know how to do it, practice it, try it out, you know, like go in the practice range, go in a area where there's like a roof above your head and try it out, you know, see for yourself. Yeah, that pretty much sums up everything I wanted to say. Something I also wanted to mention is that I've seen a lot of pro players bashing Fuse, saying that he's not good, not a good pick, and I'd like to add a few words to that. Now, I'm not doubting that the pros are good players, and I don't mind if they say bad things about Fuse, but he's worth a shot, in my opinion. To say that he's not worth it and useless and his ability are very underwhelming, it's just false. That just gives me the impression that these pros don't really want to play Fuse because he's more of a, you know, he's a bit versatile. Like, you can play him aggressive, but he mostly is used from like mid-range to long-range distances. You can use him in close range, that's not the problem. But, you know, to me it sounds like the pro players just want an easy way out. They want to play with like Wraith, Gibraltar, and Horizon. But yeah, I think he's definitely a worthy pick, so try him out, try to get used to him, experiment with compositions. You know, you can try them with Horizon as well. You know, Horizon has like her ultimate ability that is like a Zarya ultimate basically. You know, like a gravity search or whatever, like a black hole. You throw that in there, and Fuse shoots his like a ring of fire. There's no escape for the enemy, so that's a great combo. It's something I want to experiment with. But you know, when you solo queue in ranked and you try to hit Predator, I can understand if people want to get the easy way out with certain legends that have a bit more broken abilities, but yeah. Other than that, guys, I hope you guys found my explanation helpful, and I hope I could give you a better understanding on how to play Fuse and become a pro. If you like my guide, please leave a like, and if you want more guides in the future, subscribe. It really means a lot to me. Thank you, and I'll see you on the battlefield.